the invisible choice. How you're already shifting timelines every day without knowing. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing the life you're living is not the only one you've been living. That somewhere right now there are versions of you making different choices, walking different paths, feeling different emotions, learning different lessons. And everything you thought was a coincidence? It was a convergence. This isn't science fiction. This is spiritual fact. And if you're here watching this, something inside you already knows. You've had the feelings, the flashes, the déjà vu that wasn't just familiarity, it was memory from another version of you. You've heard your name in dreams. You felt emotions that didn't belong to the moment. You've had moments where time bent, where a conversation repeated itself, or where you knew what was going to happen before it did. You're not crazy.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
You're not imagining things. You're living in multiple timelines without realizing it. And it's not a curse. It's a gift, but only if you recognize it. So let's begin. Have you ever had a moment where a decision, something seemingly small, felt massive? Choosing to go left instead of right, answering a call or ignoring it, saying yes when fear screamed no. That's not just a decision. That's a pivot point, or a timeline fork. A moment where your consciousness split into multiple threads. One version of you went one way. Another version went the other. And the you that's watching this now, you're the one waking up to all of them. You see, time isn't linear. That's the illusion. Time is layered, like sheets of music playing at once. And you, your consciousness, is the instrument interpreting the notes. Every thought, every belief, every emotional frequency you hold is tuning you into a different version of reality. This is the first sign you're living in multiple timelines. You feel like you've lived this before, but differently. It's subtle. It's not just déjà vu. It's a deep, eerie knowing that this moment is familiar, but off. Like you've done this before, but the outcome was different. You might brush it off. But what if I told you that you're actually brushing up against another version of you, an echo from a parallel timeline bleeding into this one? These overlaps are not glitches. They're invitations. They're the universe saying, you're waking up. And this brings us to the second sign. Your dreams are starting to feel more real than your waking life. In your dreams, you're in other places, with other people, sometimes even with a different body or voice. You wake up and feel a grief for a life that isn't this one, or a longing. Some of you even experience dream recall that is more vivid than your childhood memories. Why? Because your dream state is the one place your ego can't filter the truth. When you sleep, your consciousness roams. And where does it go? Other timelines, other versions of your experience. You're not escaping reality, you're visiting it. And the more awake you become, the more those visits start to influence your waking choices. Here's where it gets wild. The choices you make in this timeline send ripples into others. And the choices they make affect you. We are not isolated. We are holographic, interconnected, interwoven. So when you heal a trauma here, Let's say you forgive someone who deeply hurt you. You're not just healing this self. You're sending that frequency to all versions of you who are still holding that wound. You become the frequency anchor across timelines. This is the third sign. You start healing faster than what seems logically possible. Old patterns drop overnight. Habits that haunted you for years suddenly vanish. People who triggered you stop affecting you. Why? Because you collapsed a timeline. You integrated a lesson that was spread across multiple dimensions of your being. Think about this. Have you ever had a sudden shift in personality or desire? Like one day you just didn't care about something you were obsessed with the day before. That's not randomness. That's a timeline hop. You slipped into a version of reality where that obsession never anchored to begin with. It feels like magic, but it's actually mechanics, the mechanics of consciousness. Let me ask you something deep. What would you do differently if you knew every choice you make right now sends a signal across infinite versions of you? Would you choose with more care? Would you love with more courage? Would you forgive more freely? Because here's the secret. The most powerful version of you is already living the life you dream of. And every time you align with love over fear, truth over comfort, presence over distraction, you move closer to that version. This brings us to the fourth sign. You begin experiencing quantum synchronicities. You think of someone and they call. You dream of a symbol and see it repeated all day. You get a gut feeling and it leads to something profound. These aren't coincidences. These are convergences, points where timelines meet, where the parallel selves are aligning. But here's the twist. Not every timeline is your ally. Some versions of you are still stuck in fear, still playing small, still hiding. And if you're not aware, you can merge with those timelines, taking on their emotional weight, their confusion, their stagnation. That's why discernment is key. This is the fifth sign. You feel emotion that seems to come from nowhere. One moment you're fine, and the next you're crying, anxious, or filled with rage, and nothing in your current environment explains it. That's not you being unstable. That's you receiving bleed through from another version of yourself. A version that's still trapped, still looping, still seeking. And your job, not to suppress it, but to listen, to ask, what is this version of me trying to tell me? What does it need to feel whole? Because when you bring compassion to these echoes, you're not just becoming more emotionally intelligent. You're liberating timelines. Let's talk about the sixth sign. You become hyper-aware of choice points. It feels like the universe is constantly presenting forks in the road. Some are small: what to eat, who to text back. Others are massive: quitting the job, ending a relationship, moving across the world. But all of them feel alive, like they're pulsing with consequence. And they are. When you live in multiple timelines, every choice is encoded. Every decision reorients your trajectory. That's why spiritual masters often speak in parables about simplicity. Because when you're aware of the weight of your choices, you move with intention. You speak with care. You begin to understand that you are the architect of reality. So what happens next? The seventh and perhaps most powerful sign, You start collapsing timelines into the now. You feel like your life is speeding up. Lessons come faster. Manifestations arrive quicker. Time bends. Days feel like lifetimes. You're not imagining it. You're experiencing timeline convergence. The versions of you that have been scattered across dimensions are starting to unify. You're becoming whole. But wholeness is not perfection. It's presence. It's the ability to hold the full spectrum of your being without judgment. And that is the real gift. Not control over timelines, but harmony with them. Not escaping your past, but redeeming it. Not fearing the unknown, but flowing with it. So let me leave you with this question. If every version of you past, present, and future was watching you right now, what would they want you to choose? Because you're not alone. You are a constellation of selves. And this life, this moment, this breath, is the nexus, the center, the power point. You've been living in multiple timelines your entire life. Now it's time to live them consciously. We are not passive passengers on this journey through time, we are navigators. And when we start to awaken to the reality of multiple timelines, something fundamental shifts. Life stops being linear. It becomes a living field of choice, frequency, and alignment. The question is no longer, what's going to happen to me? But which version of reality am I choosing to embody right now? You've probably felt it already. That strange sense that you're being pulled in two directions. One part of you wants to stay safe, predictable, small. The other part? It wants to leap into the unknown, into the dream, into the version of yourself that terrifies and excites you all at once. That tension, that pull, that's not just indecision. That's timeline tension. It's the friction between two realities vying for your attention. So how do we choose? It starts with understanding the most important law of timeline travel. Frequency is the passport. You don't move between timelines by force. You tune into them. Think of your consciousness like a radio. There are infinite stations, each one broadcasting a different version of your life. One station has the version of you stuck in fear. Another has the version of you who took the leap, built the dream, healed the trauma, remembered the mission. You don't need to fight to get there. You need to match the frequency. And how do you do that? You align your thoughts, emotions, and actions now with the version of you who's already living that reality. This isn't pretend. This is quantum embodiment. You don't wait for the future, you become the future. Not by faking it, but by feeling it in your nervous system. By choosing it even when you don't see it yet. By trusting that your internal alignment is more real than external circumstances. Here's the truth. The timeline you most believe in becomes the one that solidifies. So ask yourself, right now, what do I believe is truly possible for me? If there's doubt in your answer, that's okay. That doubt is not your enemy, it's your compass. It's pointing directly at the edge of your current timeline, where the truth ends and the unknown begins. And that's exactly where you need to go. But let's go deeper. When you begin navigating timelines consciously, you'll notice something else. Reality starts responding to you faster. The time between thought and manifestation shortens. Why? because you've collapsed inner resistance. You're not sending mixed signals to the quantum field. You're coherent, you're clear, and the universe loves clarity. So the first principle of the timeline traveler's code is this: clarity creates collapse. When you are clear about who you are, what you want, and what you're no longer available for, old timelines collapse. They dissolve. The people, habits, and patterns tied to those versions of you begin to fall away. It might feel like loss, but it's actually liberation. Let me ask you a question that can change your life if you're willing to answer it honestly. What timelines are you still feeding with your time, energy, and attention? Even though your soul knows they've expired, that job, that relationship, that identity, that old dream that no longer fits. Are you brave enough to let them go? Because the second principle is this: you cannot drag the old you into the new timeline. Timeline travel requires death, ego death, identity death. The willingness to become no one, to shed who you thought you were, to make space for who you really are. And that's terrifying. But it's also sacred. Because only when you're empty can the truth pour in. And here's where most people get stuck. They try to hold on to the safety of the old while reaching for the magic of the new. But the quantum field doesn't respond to half commitment. It responds to devotion. So how do we commit? We start with micro choices. Every moment is a fork in the road. Eat the thing that numbs you or the thing that nourishes you. Scroll for comfort or sit in silence. React from fear or respond from presence. These tiny moments are the timeline shifts. There is no big leap. There are only 1,000 small alignments that accumulate into a different destiny. And the third principle of timeline navigation is this: emotion is the engine. Your emotional state is not just a response to your reality, it's a generator of it. Every emotion is a frequency. Joy, gratitude, courage, these aren't just nice feelings. They are energetic signatures of higher timelines. When you feel them, you are plugged into realities where those frequencies are normal. This is why trauma work, inner child healing, and emotional integration are not optional. They are essential. You cannot stabilize a high-frequency timeline if your nervous system is still wired for survival. You'll get pulled back into the old loops every time. So we do the work not just to feel better, but to become available for better timelines. And then something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to feel time differently. This is the fourth sign of mastery: chronoflexibility. Days stretch, hours vanish. You experience time dilation. You get more done in less time, or less done with more impact. Why? Because when you're aligned, you're in flow, and flow is outside of linear time. You are no longer bound by the clock. You are bound by frequency. But let's address something real. What about when things fall apart? Because they will. That's not failure. That's the fifth principle. Destruction is a sign of realignment. The universe isn't punishing you. It's editing your reality. You're being restructured to match a higher timeline. So when something collapses, ask not why is this happening, but what version of me is being liberated right now? And then here comes the real wisdom: don't rush to rebuild. Sit in the space between, the void, and the silence. That's where the new timeline seeds itself, not in activity, in attunement. Sit, breathe, listen. Because in the silence you'll hear whispers, not from outside, from you, the you that already lives in the timeline you're calling in. That you has answers, that you has clarity, that you is your guide. You don't need to become them, you just need to remember them. And remembering is the final principle of this part. Timeline travel is ultimately soul retrieval. You're not becoming someone else. You're retrieving the fragments of yourself scattered across dimensions, calling them home into one coherent field of truth. You are the traveler. You are the destination. You are the map. So here's your integration question. If you truly believed you were already living the timeline your soul desires, how would you treat yourself today? Would you speak differently? Move differently? Choose differently? Because the moment you start doing that, you're already there. You've made it to the edge of self-concept, the edge of what the mind can hold, the edge of a reality that no longer fits. And what lies beyond this edge is not just a new life, it's a new self. A self that is not bound by time, not fractured by fear, not fragmented across dimensions. A self that is whole, a self that is awake. This is the moment of merge. Every timeline you've ever touched, every version of you that chose differently, loved differently, feared differently, they are all converging. Right here, right now, inside you. And this is where you must become the master key. Not to unlock more doors, but to realize you were the door all along. Let's go deeper. When we speak about merging timelines, what we really mean is integrating identity. You are not here to escape any version of yourself. You are here to reclaim them, to call back the parts of you still stuck in self-doubt, still addicted to pain, still hiding behind masks. You are not leaving them behind. You are loving them home. Because the version of you who failed, that version holds wisdom. The version of you who stayed silent, that version holds power. The version of you who ran from love, that version holds the key to intimacy. And so, the final stage of timeline mastery is not transcendence. It's radical embodiment. You stop seeking the highest version of yourself and start realizing that every version, light and shadow, brave and broken, is part of the whole. And when you hold them all without judgment, without hierarchy, you become unified field consciousness. You become the still point in the center of all timelines. Let me ask you a question that only the awakened can answer. Can you love every version of you, even the ones that didn't make it? The one who gave up, the one who lied, the one who betrayed their truth. Can you hold them in your heart as sacred teachers? Because if you can, you collapse separation. And when separation collapses, so does suffering. You begin to realize that every you, across time and space, has been doing the best they could with the level of awareness they had. And instead of trying to fix them, you begin to bless them. You become their anchor to wholeness. This is the spiritual technology of timeline redemption. You feel the pain of a past version of yourself, and instead of avoiding it, you say, I see you. I feel you. I am here now. We made it. And something incredible happens. Energy rewrites itself. The past is not fixed. It's fluid. And when your present frequency shifts, it sends a ripple backward through time. That's not metaphor. That's quantum truth. Time does not cause change. Consciousness does. And that means you can heal the past from the now. So let's make this practical. Let's say there's a moment in your life you've never forgiven yourself for. Something you said. Something you didn't say. A moment you took the wrong path. That moment hasn't gone anywhere. It still lives in your energetic field. And it's pulling you into timelines where shame is the dominant frequency. But you today now can become the master key. You can close your eyes, breathe, see that version of you, witness their pain, witness their fear, and then speak the words that they never got to hear. You are not broken. You are not bad. You are not unworthy. You were scared, and I love you. This is not imagination. This is interdimensional healing. Because whatever you do to one version of yourself, you do to all. And this is the final realization. You are the source code of your entire reality. Everything you see out there is a reflection of the frequency you are holding in here. The love, the chaos, the patterns, the miracles. They're all feedback, not punishment, not reward. Feedback. So if you want to shift your external world, don't start with action. Start with alignment. Start with awareness. Start with integration. Here's a secret most people never unlock. The reason manifestations sometimes feel blocked is because you're not fully unified. One part of you wants the dream. Another part is still living in the trauma where dreams always ended in loss. Until those parts are brought into harmony, your energy is split. And the quantum field doesn't respond to split signals. It waits for coherence. So how do we unify? We stop fighting ourselves. We stop shaming the parts that are scared. We stop bypassing the parts that are angry, sad, confused. And we start doing something radical. We pause. We listen. We feel. Because the final merge is not loud. It's not flashy. It's not a cosmic fireworks show. It's peace. It's the moment when all versions of you sit down at the same table and stop arguing. It's the moment when the war inside finally ends. And from that place, you begin to live a completely different life. A life where intuition is loud and fear is quiet. A life where synchronicity is the norm and struggle is the exception. A life where you don't chase timelines, you anchor them. You become the version of you who influences the field, not the one who reacts to it. You become a timeline architect, and the blueprint is your energy. So let's go even deeper. What if the reason you feel stuck right now is not because you don't know what to do, but because you're still waiting for permission? Permission from who? From the version of you that was told to be small? From the version of you that needed approval? From the version of you that thought survival was success? Let this be your permission slip. You are allowed to shift timelines at will. You are allowed to become the version of you that scares you with how powerful they are. You are allowed to let go of every single identity that no longer fits. You are allowed to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This is the merge. This is the mastery. You are not here to ascend away from life. You are here to bring heaven into it. To walk as the integrated, awakened, multidimensional being that you already are. So let me leave you with this final question, a question that will echo inside you long after this video ends. If every version of you across time and space was watching you right now, would they feel proud? Would they feel seen? Would they feel loved? Because the answer to that question is the answer to alignment. And alignment is the answer to everything. You are not just living in multiple timelines. You are weaving them. With every thought, with every breath, with every act of love. So go now, not to become someone new, but to remember who you've always been, the master key, the convergence point, the awake one. And the world is waiting for you to walk as that. You've now received the full transmission, 3 parts, 3 initiations, 1 ultimate realization. You are not just a character in the story, you are the author. And the pen you're writing with, it's your awareness, your presence, your choices. But here's the thing, insight without embodiment is just inspiration. And inspiration fades if not followed by integration. So let's go 1 layer deeper, not into theory, but into practice. Because walking between timelines isn't just about mystical insight. It's about how you wake up in the morning, how you move through conflict, how you breathe when no one's watching. That's where the magic is. That's where the real mastery lives. Let's bring this into your body, your breath, your day-to-day life. Practice 1, timeline check-in ritual, 5 minutes daily, every morning, before the world enters your field. Ask yourself, who am I choosing to be today? And what timeline does that version of me live in? Close your eyes. Picture that version of you. What do they wear? How do they walk? What do they not tolerate anymore? What energy do they radiate? Now breathe as if you're already them. Feel the body posture. Feel the emotional baseline. Feel the clarity in their choices. Then move from that place. This tiny ritual done daily collapses the gap between you and the timeline you're calling in. Practice 2, timeline audit, weekly reflection. At the end of the week, light a candle. Get still. Journal the following. What version of me dominated this week? Was it my scared self, my empowered self, my avoidant self, or my embodied self? What timeline did I feed with my energy? What timeline am I ready to starve? This is how we stop unconsciously looping. We bring unconscious patterns into conscious review. And once you see it, you can shift it. Practice 3, quantum self-embodiment, somatic practice. Stand tall, barefoot if possible, feet grounded. Speak out loud as your quantum self, the version of you from the timeline where your soul is fully realized. Say, I am the one who remembers. I am the one who chooses. I am the one who merges all timelines into truth. I forgive, I embody, I walk in power. Repeat until you feel it in your bones, until your body believes it. Not just your mind. Then go do something ordinary: wash dishes, take a walk, make tea, but do it as them. That's where the merge stabilizes, in the mundane. Practice 4. Timeline deletion ceremony. Some timelines need to die. Old identities, contracts, energetic loops. You don't destroy them with force. You release them with reverence. Write a letter to the timeline you're ready to leave. Thank it. Bless it. Burn it safely. As the smoke rises, whisper, "We are complete. I carry the wisdom. I leave the weight." And then don't look back. Practice 5. Timeline anchoring phrase. Choose one phrase that anchors your chosen timeline. For example, I am already living the life my soul was designed for. This moment is the portal. Only alignment exists here. Repeat this phrase whenever doubt creeps in. Let it be your anchor when the waves get choppy. Remember this: shifting timelines is not about escaping pain, it's about transcending resistance. Not by bypassing it, but by loving yourself through it. You're going to have days where the old timeline pulls hard. That's okay. That's expected. Just don't unconsciously agree with it. Don't say, "I guess this is just how life is." Say, "Ah, I see you, old self. But I choose again," over and over, until choosing becomes natural, until embodiment becomes effortless, until reality bends not because you forced it, but because you became the frequency that bends it. And let me leave you with this: you are not here to just live a better life. You are here to collapse time, to access lifetimes of growth in single moments of presence. To remember that you are the convergence, that the most powerful technology in the universe is not AI, not machines, not money. It's a human being who remembers who they really are, and that right now is you. So walk tall, walk slow, walk as the timeline master, and know that every step you take in truth sends ripples across eternity.